Welcome everybody to another Arch City Poker hand history review. Here alongside Nick to kind of help me get through a hand that I played. This was a 1-2 hand quite a long time ago. I think I was in Shreveport, Louisiana, and this was at a casino called the El Dorado. This was quite a long time ago, before I really took my poker game to the next level. What I did do is I have an entire book that's a hand history review of every hand I ever was unsure about. And I was smart enough at the time to know, like, I should write these down so I can reflect on them later. So we're going to be evaluating one of those hands. This is a 1-2 game. Hero stack we're going to be on the button. $300 in our stack. Villain is going to be under the gun +2. He's got $250 in his stack. And we're going to look down at 5-8 of diamonds, Nick. And we're going to get through pre-flop. I can't really tell you how I thought about the hand because I can't quite remember. But I'll be able to provide feedback and context for how I think about the hand today. And then we can also compare it to maybe how live low stakes players might also maybe play this hand. But what's going to happen is under the gun's going to fold, under the gun +1's going to fold, under the gun +2 is going to limp in, and it's going to fold all the way to the button, which is us, and we have 5-8 of diamonds. We open to $12. I'm guessing this was the standard opening size that either I was using or the table was using at the time. And it looks like it folds to under the gun +2, and he min raises to $24. And Hero elects to call. So, kind of looking back at back in the day, I don't quite think that we really want to do a whole lot of cold calling to limp re-raises. But I don't really remember what this villain type was like. I'm guessing if he's limp min clicking it, there had to have been something that I saw earlier in the hand or history with this person to make me think that this was an okay decision. In hindsight, I don't really like that idea. I don't mind opening 5-8 of diamonds there in the button. I might increase the sizing a little bit by today's standards. But if I do see a villain who's going to be limp re-raising me, unless they're doing it a lot, I'm probably folding more often than not. But Nick, here we are. What do we think?
Actually, don't mind it. I think sizing's gonna matter in these scenarios, guys. Like if he made it to 12 and he made it like 45 or 50, it's just a turbo muck. Because the hand's just so speculative, obviously. Like I like the raise to begin with over top of the limp. But once he just min clicks it, it's gonna leave a stack to pot ratio of around like 4.5, and that does give us enough room post flop to maneuver, I think. And I think there's the added bonus, even though his range is probably relatively strong. Like I would say generally I wouldn't say it is not aces or kings. I think there's less combos of those. I think they would want to go a little bit larger. But some players will do this just because they want you in the pot. Like they want to get action on those hands. Generally, this is going to be something like, I find that this tends to be like tens or jacks. It could be a hand like ace king or ace queen suited, but I mean, in a vacuum, guys, like I would range this opponent as being really like big card heavy, whether it is a bigger pair or like a Broadway hand. So I think our hand has pretty good visibility. Like we don't have to worry about him being on top of us when we flop anything that's like relatively strong. But yeah, Tony, I don't mind it just because he only min clicked it. Like we have enough room post flop to be able to outplay him, I think. So I'm actually fine with calling. I think folding would be a mistake.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So we get to a flop, and it is 4 clubs, 6 of diamonds, 8 of spades. Pretty good for our specific hand. I would say, if I had to guess against somebody's range who limp re-raises, I would say we're doing pretty good. This is a pretty good board for us. I think we still have a lot of equity versus a lot of the overpairs. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start the action with villain checking. Hero is going to elect to bet half pot, $25 into $50 or $51. Villain is going to raise the $25 bet to $50. And Hero elects to call. All right, so I can see a trend here with my play style. My first thoughts here, Nick, are this. I mean, this is my. This wasn't for the viewers listening. This wasn't like a pre-recorded like conversation we had. I literally just took a hand that I thought was pretty interesting, and like I remember writing down in this book that it put me through a loop. So looking back and trying to evaluate decision making here, I don't mind betting when we're check two here. I think that's perfectly fine. And I think if we're going to be betting about half pot, that's okay. I might go a smidge smaller here, just because I want to set up maybe larger turn size or like river bets. I want to keep the SPR just a little bit higher to give me a little bit more room on the turn or the river, deciding on what action I want to take. When we get min raised again, I mean, I would have to think that this is an overpair. Like, I don't understand what other hand wants to do it. We're blocking sets. We're blocking pocket eights. We block, I mean, I can't imagine anybody would have 4-7 here, or let alone that sizing. But yeah, I don't mind calling the min raise here. I'm more concerned with what Villain's range is when he's deciding to min raise, and I'm probably thinking over pairs at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the only, like, because it's a 3-bet pot and the stack to pot ratio is just roughly 4.5, and we do think it's like an overly saturated, like over pair heavy range, if you will. I would like to go a lot smaller on the flop, or like checking back flop is not horrible here, because like I'll do this in a lot of spots where there isn't going to be enough room, or I like, let's say let's say like I think they're capable of checking, and then they are gonna like check raise, or I think like a lot of times they'll check jam like aces, kings, queens, jacks here. They just don't want to see or turn a river. Like the SPR is low enough. They like, and I actually think that's actually a pretty good play. Like I think that's actually a play that a solver would actually like. But I think there are two better options. Like Tony betting half pot here is not the worst thing in the world, but like it's only gonna, like, you're gonna fold out like the ace king maybe, and then you're absolutely still getting action from the overpairs no matter what, right? So pot was, what was it, $50 yeah, on the flop. Like I would have bet something closer to, like, I think I would have bet honestly like 10.
Yeah, me
You're
too.
still gonna get the same info out of him, and if he just calls, I don't think that's an overpair when he just calls. I think it is like Broadway cards. And so then if we get a non-ace or king turn, I think there's a good scenario there to, you have two options. You can either like, you could jam. I think that's maybe a little unnecessary. Like I think you could drag it across turn and river and get him to fold river. So betting smaller starting out is a really good option. Another really good option is that this board is technically, I would say, a little bit more static in nature, given that there's no suit, and it is like a 3 straight board essentially. Now, that doesn't interact with our opponent's range all that much, but the point being is that if I think my opponent's range here is really overpair heavy, and then some like ace king and maybe ace queen suited or something like that, I don't mind checking back and making sure that this street actually does drag out across, or I'm sorry, that this hand drags out across multiple streets, or it gives us an opportunity to realize equity with a hand that's pretty hidden. Because like if we bet too large and we get check raise, which is the disaster scenario that we run into here, then we're not leaving ourselves, as Tony alluded to, like enough room to probably be able to do a whole lot turn and river against this guy. Now, like, do we still have to probably call the min click on the flop because we have top pair in the gutter? It's arguable that there aren't even enough implied odds there with that, but I think we can't really fold that hand at that point, and we'd like to see what he does on turn at least. But we've put ourselves now into a scenario where we're playing more into his hands, and we're taking away our positional advantage by betting too large to begin with on the flop. So yeah, Tony, bet's fine, but I would either bet seriously, like it sounds ridiculous, guys, but I would bet between $5 and $10, or I would just check back. And I think those are
Hmm.
way better than betting 25 or larger in that spot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'd probably size down to probably $10 or $15 in
Yeah.
my kind of theory
And for you
today.
guys, like, yeah, and I'll make it clear to you guys that we talk a lot about having like the bread and butter strategy of betting in position with range in a lot of spots. But there are some scenarios where, like this one, where let's say there isn't as much room to play a three street game because it is a three bet pot. And if you're going to play a three street game, you got to size way down. Or you have a hand that is one that you could play it more aggressively on future streets. And a lot of times those are kind of like the middling types of hands, whether you have like pair plus gutter or you have just like an open ender. Those are ones that I actually, even if I have a dynamic board, I might sometimes check those back in a scenario where I think there could be an opportunity for me to get played back at. I will actually check those back because what ends up happening is your opponent, they might not have been so truthful on the flop, but I you better believe they're going to be truthful on the turn. And so then you figure out exactly where they're at, and you have not only equity that you realize by getting to see a card, but now you get to be aggressive if you want on that street, or you force them then to play the river, and that's where they make even more mistakes. So yeah, if you know, I don't want you guys to be so rigid and thinking like, oh, we're checked in position. We like to bet on most every scenario for smaller when we're in position like this. There are some scenarios where you have some middling combos that they play well as aggressive combo, like almost like delayed aggression. They'll play pretty well, and this is one of those combos. So you could absolutely check this back or bet smaller.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to a turn, which is the seven of diamonds. Pretty juicy card there. Villain checks and hero. It looks like I elected to bet $50 into a pot of 150, about third pot, and villain calls. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yep. I mean,
I think it's great.
I'll let you go.
Honestly. Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, we've ranged him as essentially I thought you were exactly like he has an overpair in the spot. And if he doesn't, then like it's the weirdest thing ever. But like when he limp min clicks pre-flop and then he min clicks or check raise flop, like to me it just screams like queens, right? So this is now a scenario where we've turned the effective nuts. There's really almost no way we can lose, and we want to keep him in the pot. So like I would jam if I was bluffing here, but if I want to get max value out of an overpair, I think we've got to bet small and set up like a half pot or less shove on the river, and that's exactly what you did here. So I actually, you might be surprised because I know you threw up this hand, and we talked about this before going kind of live with this, but like there's some things that actually were done pretty well from an exploitative perspective in this hand. But I think betting small here is absolutely what we need to do to get him to feel comfortable with the overpair on the river.
Yeah, I can tell you at the point in time when this hand was played, it was guesswork. It,
Yeah.
you know, I
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you why 50, why not 60, why not 70, but that's what we did, and here we are. So villain ended up calls the 50, and we get to a river, a board pairing river, which is the 7 of hearts, and villain elects to lead into us for $60, giving himself 60 behind. Hero elects to just call the 60. And before we kind of show what the results are, what are we thinking?
I'm thinking we missed out on $66 of value there. I just think like, look, guys, if he shows you a better hand here, it's like the weirdest played boat of all time. Like, could you run into a boat here? Maybe, but like the one pair I would think that he would actually like very rarely show me here would be eights, and we have an eight in our hand. I think this is kind of a block, just like they don't want to face a jam with like their queens or kings. For some reason, they think it matters that they leave the 66 behind, and this is a clear spot with like the effective nuts to go for max value. I mean, we put third pot in on turn to set up like basically a half pot or less shove on river to get him feel committed and comfortable with his overpair. So I would put the remainder in here thinking that I'm always winning this hand.
I would agree, Nick. I kind of cringed a little bit when I'm like, and we call. Okay.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
leave villain with $66 behind. Okay. We
yeah,
that's what we did. I think
yeah.
it,
If there was a, I was gonna say if there, yeah, if there were a blunder in this hand, this would be it. Like the flop bet is too large, but betting is okay. Like it's just, I would say it's just a sizing error, but not like a sizing blunder. But this one's yeah, this would be the blunder for sure.
okay. In real time, well, not in real time. Looking back from my perspective, going back into this now, I mean, I think if we still think he's got what nines plus at this point, I mean, we're basically crushing everything.
Yeah,
The board pair, I mean, we're just not, and I know you know this, but like we're just not scared of any boats here. We're not scared of 7-8. We block it. We're not scared of 6-7. I just don't think that those are hands that limp re-raise pre-flop. And if I were to evaluate this play in the villain on today's standards of what I would see at my table, this looks like jacks. Honestly, it looks like tens.
yeah,
It doesn't look like aces. I think aces would
yeah,
just like would just rip this river, thinking that whatever people
yep,
with aces in this spot think of. But I think it's very clear. I think having a five here, at worst, we're chopping against like ace five of, well, we have the five of diamonds, but just some other weird hand that a villain could have. But here we are. We elected to call, and villain ends up showing us ace nine of spades, which I read this and I was like, interesting. Maybe I wonder if what if villain has ace nine of diamonds here? That might be a little more, might line up a little bit better with him continuing so aggressively here. But with having all the diamond blockers, perhaps he thought there was a missed flush draw here, and he's just trying to get a missed draw to just fold. Historically speaking, on paired boards, I just think that people just tend not to fold very often, right? So if I'm villain here and my draw completely missed, I just don't think that this is a card I'm going to be barreling on. And if villain checks, I think button should be shoving here almost 100% of the time. But yeah, Nick, ace nine of spades.
yeah. Very surprising. I can't really think of. I mean, this hand's played horribly. Like we're just gonna say it candidly. Like I can't think of a spot where he did anything that I thought he did well. Like the limp min click is just horrible pre-flop for many reasons. But then check check raising with essentially air on the flop doesn't make any sense to me. He picks up the open ender and just check calls. Like there's just nothing good about the way that hand was played. And Tony, you brought up a good point that I'll just end with, that way too often I see players worry, like they'll say aloud, well, the bigger straights out there or the boats out there. If you guys learn how to range your opponents properly and you kind of put the pieces to the puzzle as far as like being able to hand read throughout the progression of the hand that's played, you're going to find that you're going to be able to understand like what the effective nuts actually are. Like you're going to be able to thin value bet so much more confidently. You're going to be able to bluff so much more confidently. As played, I don't care they showed ace nine here. Like 99% of players are never going to show up with a better straight or boat than us. Like they're never going to have a better hand than what we have at that point on the river. So if our
Mm-hmm.
opponent led 60 into, what was it, Tony, like 250 or
Yeah,
something like that on the river?
yeah, 250.
Yeah, if we had 500 left effective, I would have put 500 in.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how confident I would be that hand is the best hand. And well, maybe I should say this. That's actually like, maybe I wouldn't put 500 in because I don't think the overpair would call there, but I would bluff 500. But I would put in maybe like 250 over his $60 lead and try to get like the overpair to call, because I would feel that confident. So yeah, it's another point to be made that you guys need to understand that just because something uh, could be available as far as like what the nutty hands are, it doesn't mean that your opponent can have them. You got to just range them appropriately, and then you'll be able to figure that out a lot more confidently.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up our hand history analysis for this week. And if you're listening to this video and you want a live hand that you played to be showcased on the Arch City Poker Hand History Review Forum, you have the option to do so. Head on over to Discord. There's going to be a little link here that's within this video that you can see. Head on over there and tell us all about your hand. Give us all the details. Let's pick through it together and let's see if we can help plug up a leak that maybe was identified in your game, because this was a real hand that was played. These aren't manufactured. These are real hands played at live low stakes. We're going to go through them, the good and the bad and the ugly, and we're going to keep making ourselves better as Arch City Poker does. We build better players. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.